A bizarre bathroom visitor startles a young girl. And then we take a look at the theory that the Illuminati made a movie bomb at the box office last weekend. And continuing on that thread, we're going to take a look at the bizarre dealings of a man you all know, a man named Kanye West. But while you think you may know the whole story, do you? Do you know there was a man hiding in the shadows, controlling Kanye West? Possibly, allegedly. But if this story is true, what does it say about the rest of the famous people who go crazy? Is there a mysterious organization slowly driving them mad? Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day too. Hope you guys are having tons of fun doing whatever you're doing, and I hope you guys had an awesome weekend. I think you guys can tell by the tone of my voice as opposed to the last episode. I got a lot of rest over the weekend. I did go to a really cool event that we'll talk about later on. But I want to say this before we get started. The last episode, I said I was going to drop to just 3 episodes a week because the workload had just gotten too much. I'd been doing it for so long. And I am very, very, very happy to see all the correspondence you guys sent me. Emails and YouTube comments and things like that. Just expressing your gratitude for the show and for your understanding. I really, really appreciated seeing all those comments, and it made me feel good about that decision. Basically, the number one comment was, "You've done a lot. You've done a lot, Frodo. You've done a lot, Frodo. You've walked a long while, babe, big in the city. Now you can rest, but not retire," which is what I really, really love about that announcement, that it's not the end of the show, it's just making it more possible for me to do it in the long run. So that made me feel really good, you know? A couple of you guys said, it sounded pretty dire. The tone of my voice, it sounded like I was letting you down. Sounded like I was breaking up with you. I got a lot of comments like that. And I wasn't breaking up with you. And I hope I'm not letting you down, but that's how I felt. That is how I felt. I was like, this isn't good. I wish the circumstances were different. But I'm so glad that you guys are so supportive of that decision. I really, really am. I've already been kicking around other stuff I wanted to do, like video projects. I was like, oh, now I have time to do this, or I have time to do that, and stuff like that. So no, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. What we're going to do, because I said we were going to go to 3 episodes in November, and then I am looking at my calendar, and I go, that's like 6 weeks, 8 weeks from now, really. And I'm still feeling swamped. What I think we're going to do is we're going to drop to 4 episodes a week. Probably in October, and then we'll drop to 3 episodes a week in November. Like, are we going to be 2 episodes a week in December? No, 3 episodes a week, I really feel is a good spot for me. I really, really do. I honestly, I think the thing, I've already been like, well, I won't be able to cover enough stories. I want to cover more stuff, so. But I'd rather have that feeling than being overwhelmed. So again, I appreciate all of you guys for being there with me. But someone who's with me right now running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command, everyone get on your feet and give it up for our newest Patreon supporter, Finn Moeller. Woohoo, yeah, wee! He's dancing on into Dead Rabbit Radio Command with his nice brown dancing shoes. He's like, what? Why are they brown? We'll get to that in a second. He's like, I hate the color brown. Come on in. Finn is our newest member of the Patreon, and that is why he is going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the show financially through the Patreon or the merch store, I totally understand. I really do. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. Finn, I'm going to go ahead and toss you the keys to the Jason Jalopy. Everyone climb on board this lovable old hunk of junk. As Finn fires it up, we're leaving behind Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Why don't you drive us all the way out to my place? Which is right around the corner. We probably could have walked there. We probably could have just walked out the garage and walked over to my place. I wanted to give you guys a quick update and a little mental tip that I think you guys can take forward into the world. We've been doing that Jinn saga This whole idea, I'm not going to reiterate it because I've talked about it so much in past episodes, but I think there was a djinn in my house. This is your first episode. You're like, please, I need a recap. What? The genies in your house? I left something out of that story. The reason why I left it out was because I don't want to give it any more energy. I'm doing it now, but I didn't want to give it any more energy. And I go, at a certain point, it's just... I just left it out. I guess I didn't want to talk about it anymore. So, a really quick recap. I think that a djinn or some sort of weird entity was in my apartment, was in my place while I was recording an episode. I'll put all this in the show notes, all these episodes, you can listen to it. I picked up a growling noise on the microphone. That night, I crawled into bed, and when I got into bed, there were 6 quarters on my mattress, and we've talked before about that's the way that djinn get into homes. It's much different than a demonic possession. They'll buy their way in. When I found those 6 quarters, I go, well, it's probably because I have a pile of clothes on my bed, clean clothes. They must have fallen out of a pair of jeans. It's possible the djinn left them, but I didn't know for sure, so I'm going to default to the skeptical answer. A couple nights later, I was laying in bed, I heard a weird noise outside my window. I rolled over to get a better hearing of it. I was on my side, so I rolled over to hear with both of my ears. And I saw a black cloud, a black ribbon of smoke directly above me, and it was floating out the bedroom window. Something happened in between those two events that I was just like, I'm not going to give this thing any energy. So, the night after I recorded the episode, I went into bed, and there were 6 quarters on my mattress. Was it the night directly after the episode? It might have been the next night, because it all kind of started to blur together. But anyways, one night after recording the episode, whether it was directly that night or the next night, I think it was that night, I crawled into my bed. There were 6 quarters on my mattress. I heard them as I was rolling around in bed. I heard the coins kind of jingling against each other. I go, I don't know if it's a djinn doing this. I'm going to take these quarters. I'm going to put them on my nightstand. The next night, I go to bed. There's a quarter on my mattress. I take that quarter. I didn't tell you guys this part. There's just a single quarter on my mattress the next night. And then maybe the next night or the night after that, I woke up in the morning and I was walking around my bedroom and I look and there was a quarter sitting on my mattress. So 2 more quarters were placed on my mattress after the initial 6. In between me finding those 6 quarters and moving them, and the ribbon of black smoke leaving my house, I had found 2 additional quarters at 2 separate times in my bed. And I didn't tell you guys that, at a certain point I go, I don't want to give this thing any more power than it needs or wants. So I kept that to myself. I feel comfortable telling you that now because whatever was here, I think, has left. At a certain point, too, as a listener, I would think, this guy's clearly making this up. He's definitely reached the end of the rope as far as recording a podcast. He goes, maybe now I'll just start making up stories. No, I didn't want to give it energy. I thought as a listener, it would just seem to be kind of going on for a while. It's 100% true, but I can understand listeners going, oh, okay, now where's this going? So yeah. That happened 2 more times. Now, see, it's a lot harder for me to say, oh, another quarter fell out of a pocket on a later night, and then yet another quarter fell out of a different pocket on another night that I didn't discover until the morning. At a certain point, you go, well, maybe the skeptical answer. I still did have a pile of clean clothes on my bed. You go, wait a second, Jason, wait a second. You said that I just realized I've left out a Jason detail. You said your clothes are clean on your bed, and that is true. Yet, your pants possibly have quarters in them. Don't you empty your pockets before doing your laundry? So wouldn't you have found the quarters in the first place? Well, here's the thing. I don't wash my jeans. I wash my jeans probably like twice a year or something like that. But you're not supposed to wash your jeans. You're like, Jason, you're not supposed to wash them every week. You're supposed to wash them more than every 6 months. No, you're not. Let's not quibble over the detail of when you wash the jeans. I just know you're not supposed to wash them a lot, so I've settled on 6 months. I usually wash them like, oh, yes, the spring equinox. Bring out the Levi's. I wash them usually in the summertime. I'm going to wash them again in the winter. Now, here's the thing. They're not like all muddy. I was like, oh, don't mess with my jeans. There's worms living in the mud. Oh, don't mess with Wormy. I'm all feeding him an apple. Obviously, if they get visibly dirty or if they start to stink, which they never do, I'll wash them. If I'm rolling around in the mud or something like that, if I'm chasing a pig, those things don't happen. So I don't have to wash my jeans more than twice a year. I do check my pockets before I put them in the wash, but it's very... Jason, those aren't clean. Those aren't clean. You can't have a pile of clean clothes. Take off a pair of jeans you've been wearing off and on over the course of, 3 or 4 months. I'm like, still 2 months till washing day. You can't have a pile of clean clothes that are fresh out of the laundry mat or laundry machine and then throw a pair of jeans on them that have wormy living in them. You can't do that. Well, you can, actually. And the jeans still are clean because you're not supposed to wash them. So technically they're clean. So anyways, it would make... People were probably like, wait a second, he said there were clean clothes on his bed. How are... I'm sure a lot of you guys are like, I don't even question. When Jason says there's clean clothes on the bed, I find that the most unbelievable part of the story. Jinn, yes. Coins magically appearing, yeah, very likely. Jason having clean clothes, I don't know about that. I don't know about that detail. I think he's making that up. I was going to tell you at a later date. I kind of wanted to see how stuff played out because I felt that I was giving it too much energy. I also wanted to say this real quick. People find this very odd, but it was a pretty chaotic week last week. And that wasn't the main reason why I made the decision to cut back on the show. For quite a while, I've had a hard time recording episodes during the week. Kind of a hard time. I tried to record them on the weekends. Stuff was just getting in the way, and it was just really hard. And that was a big part of the decision. But then last week, I had some pretty big bad luck streaks. One of them was realizing that I couldn't do the show as much as I used to. That kind of hit me. And then about a day or two later, I donated my car to some charity. I'm not going to name them because they came out clutch in the end. But in the beginning, I donated my car to a charity. They towed the car away a day early. I had stuff in the car that I needed. I had stuff in the car that I needed to take to the DMV. I needed to give them the pink slip. It was super huge inconvenience. I scheduled it on Friday. They picked it up on Thursday. And at the same time, this medication that I have was delayed by like a week. So the whole time I'm trying to go, I need this medicine, I need this stuff from my car. There's a $300 parking pass in it that I prepaid for a year. I need my license plates to take down to the DMV, all this stuff. And it was just like bam, bam, bam. As I'm getting ready to go on this trip that I went in on Monday, I had to deal with this medical stuff, which I don't like fighting systems. I can fight people. But fighting you can even fight an organization, but fighting a system, fighting a call center always feels so disheartening because there's really nothing you can do. They have all these policies and procedures and automated phone messages and stuff like that. And I just had a really rough week last week. And I think you guys heard that in that episode. You weren't just hearing about the episode, but all the other chaos that was going on. I didn't know the car thing hadn't happened yet, but that just added on to it. And I remember there, in the back of my brain, I started thinking, for a brief second, is all of this Jinn related? Is all this bad luck? And I immediately stopped myself and I said, no, it's not. This is something I've always believed in and people find it very weird. I do not believe in bad luck. I only believe in good luck. And that is a truth that I've held for years. And I would not even entertain the idea that I was somehow having this string of bad luck because of everything that had happened with that Jinn episode. Because I know for a fact, bad luck does not exist. Only good luck exists. And wouldn't you know it, within maybe a day of vocalizing that, of getting rid of that thought in the back of my head, and vocalizing there's no such thing as bad luck, only good luck, all of the problems got resolved. Medication showed up 2 days early. Contacted the charity after a bunch of different phone calls and being a little demanding, if I have to be honest. I'm sitting here. I have a package of my license plates, my parking pass, and a prepaid envelope for me to send them the pink slip and the key. Because I don't believe in bad luck. I only believe in good luck. All of those things did happen, but none of them were related to any bad luck streak. Because the second you do start to believe in bad luck, that's when you're on your way to the trip, a tire blows out. Or your phone breaks right before the trip begins and you needed that phone to go do what you needed to do. Credit card gets declined, gets too scratched, you lose it. The second you start to believe in bad luck, you start to have bad luck. I don't believe in bad luck. I only believe in good luck. And people go, that's so weird that you don't believe in the opposite. I go, this is what I usually say, and normally they just go, whatever. They just get up and walk away. They're like, I know where this is going. The other day, Sabine said that. I've had multiple people say to me, that doesn't make sense. You believe in good luck, but not bad luck. I told Sabine, I go, when you get out of bed in the morning and you put your feet on the ground, do you assume you're going to be held in place by gravity? And she's like, yeah. I go, well, then you believe in gravity, but do you believe you'll ever float out of bed? Do you believe it? She's like, okay, no. Then she goes, it's not even comparable. And she's just like, oh, okay, whatever. She got up and she walked around and went and grabbed her book. She put in her earplug. She's like, la-di-da-di-da. I was like, oh, you believe in reading? Well, do you believe in being illiterate? She's like, yes, millions of people are illiterate. People don't believe they're going to float out of their bed every morning. You know that gravity works. You don't believe that anti-gravity is going to float you off into the sky. So you can believe in good luck and not bad luck. You're like, Jason, that is a pretty dumb analogy. I don't think so. I think you can do anything. You believe time will move forward. Do you think you'll wake up and time's going to go backwards? You're going to wake up as a baby, right? They're like, I don't want to listen to you anymore. I'm like, oh, that's my lucky day. You're now walking away from me and I get to be here all by myself doing a little dance. I love my alone time. Anyways, there's a little Jinn update for you. And you guys should try that. You guys should try that philosophy. There's no such thing as bad luck, only good luck. I really do think that helped me, not just this week, but overall in life. I really think it helps. Okay, Finn, I'm going to toss you the keys. That was we've really could have walked over there. Finn, I'm going to go ahead and toss you the bunny bicycle. Everyone climb on the handlebars as Finn pedals us all the way out to an elementary school. Inka, Inka, Inka. Inka, Inka, Inka. Inka, Inka, Inka. Going all the way out to this elementary school. We're about to meet a young girl. We don't have her real name. We're going to call her Clara. She's in the 2nd grade, and she has to go to the bathroom. Now, I don't know. This might be an East Coast thing. I've never been in a school that has had this. I've never been in a school that has had a basement, to be honest. So maybe it's a Midwest thing. Maybe it's an East Coast thing. Not as cool as the Best Coast, the West Coast. All of our buildings go up, not down like those losers. But not only does it have a basement, the bathroom is in the basement. So imagine you really have to go to the bathroom and you're a little kid. The teacher goes, okay, Clara, I can see you back there. You're squeezing your legs together. You really got to go to the bathroom. Time to go into the scariest part of any place ever. Basements are always spooky. Even if you deck it out as a rec room, even if you got like a pool table and a big screen television set and a couch, you cannot tell me every so often you don't find yourself looking over your shoulder because you think some old man is standing behind you. Because they're creepy. You're digging into the earth and hanging out there. That's not normal. That's not normal. Even cavemen knew better than that. They would go in mountains, but they wouldn't go under them. Well, technically they are under them, but they wouldn't go under the ground. They'd go under the mountain, and they'd live in the cave, and they'd go, oh yeah, this is why they call us cavemen. To build a hole, I wonder if nuclear bunkers are haunted. Wouldn't that be crazy? That's a good idea for a story. That's actually a great idea for a story. You have a nuclear bunker built, like a big one, like a military-sized one. And they're like, okay, Mr. President, we're safe inside this giant hole in the ground. Everything will be everything will be okay as long as you don't what? Hey, I'm blocking the monitor. What? There's nothing happening on this monitor. DC's getting nuked. The world above is slowly being turned to slag, and you have all these presidents and generals and their staff and their families in this huge underground bunker, and it's haunted. Jason, what? Oh, they're afraid of the ring girl walking around? The world's been destroyed. Civilization is at an end. They're like, oh, I can't sleep. There's a spooky girl at the end of my bed singing Ring Around the Rosies. No, it would be dope. You would have like a... You have the president running away from like the ghost of a farmer who pitchforked his wife and kids. And now he's coming after you, Mr. President. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be a cool story. It'd probably be cooler if it was a small bunker and didn't have the president in it. Because basically Secret Service are all shooting the ghosts and ghosts are like, if you had a small nuclear bunker with a family in it, and nukes go off, and that's haunted, because there's nothing you can do. It's like a 2-room bunker, and you're like, Dad's all possessed. He's all freaking out, and that actually would be probably even better story, because the people would go, is he actually possessed? Or is he just going crazy because the world blew up? I mean, right, it's either or. I guess it really wouldn't matter. You're in a 2-room bunker with no hope. You can't leave this thing for months, if not years. There's a bunch of rice stacked up in the corner. And all of a sudden, the dad's sitting there and he's like speaking Latin. And then you're just like, okay, great. I don't know why. I mean, it was nice to marry a man who had a nuclear bunker, but not so nice to marry a man who so easily went insane. But it turns out it was a ghost. And you can't get a priest. They've all been blowing up. Jason, that's the shortest horror story. He just kills everyone. Chapter 2. The end. He murders his family. Anyways, there's something about digging into the earth that I think makes things extra creepy. I don't know if there's a spiritual component to it. I don't know if it's a weird psychological thing. But anyways, this girl, her bathroom is in the basement. There's no place to go. So it doesn't matter how scary it is, you gotta walk down to the basement and go to the bathroom. Well, on this particular day, Clara goes in there to go to the bathroom, when all of a sudden, what? Clara says. Because what she sees in the bathroom completely astounds her. She sees a pair of shoes. She sees a pair of black leather shoes floating in the air. She said they were floating about 3 feet off the ground. They were side by side, just floating there. They weren't moving. It wasn't like an invisible person was walking in them. They were just floating there. Clara looks at them and is like stunned for a moment. How would you react to seeing a pair of shoes float? You're just stunned. You don't like, huh, what? And then once Clara realized what she was looking at, she ran out of the bathroom. She ran out of the bathroom and didn't tell anyone about it. Years and years and years later, Clara runs into an old friend of hers that went to that same school. And they were talking. They were talking about, hey, yeah, you remember Billy Joe? Oh, yeah, Billy Joe. Owns that farmer factory over there. They build farmers, that bioengineering thing. You're like, are you sure it's not just factory equipment? No, I'm pretty sure. I read the sign right. I'm pretty sure they're making farmers. Whatever happened to Sally? Oh, Sally, yeah, she became a hairdresser. She does the most wonderful things with hair. Look at me. Oh, yeah, your hair does look great. Sally do that? Yeah. And then the friend goes, hey, you want to know what's crazy? Back at that school, you remember that girl, Lindsay? And Clara goes, yeah, I kind of remember Lindsay. And the friend goes, oh, dude, that was so crazy. Did you know, back in that elementary school, Lindsay, she said that she went down to that basement bathroom. And one day she walked in there, and there was a pair of shoes floating in the middle of the bathroom. It scared her so bad, she pissed herself. She peed her pants. Clara hears this, and she freaks out. And for the first time, she tells somebody what happened. She goes, oh my God, I saw that too. I saw the pair of floating shoes. Her friend's like, what? Did you also pee your pants? No, I didn't pee my pants, but I saw the shoes. And Clara said, really up until that moment, she always doubted what she saw. She always remembered it, but she didn't believe it. She always thought, what if it was this? What if it was that? What if it was daydreaming? What if it was an optical illusion? I don't know. She knew she saw something, but she could never really 100% say it was a pair of floating shoes. That 100% was that. Was it something else? But when she heard that another student in that same bathroom, who's actually, Lindsay was in the 6th grade when it happened, so it wasn't a little kid. When Clara heard this, she goes, oh, I'm like, that, yeah, 100% happened, and it 100% was what I thought it was. It was a pair of floating black leather shoes. Now, what's interesting about that story, other than the fact that it's a pair of floating shoes, I love stories that are so normal, yet weird. If it was the boogeyman in the corner of the bathroom, that'd be more terrifying, but we'd be able to explain it a little bit. What was this? A half-formed ghost? A cursed or possibly blessed pair of shoes? Some sort of weird fragment of a multiverse? Like, the boogeyman is at least understandable. That's a monster. That's some sort of demonic entity hiding in the bathroom. This one, I didn't even think about this. Someone posted in the comments, they said, what would have happened if you had tried putting the shoes on? Now, you may have thought of that when I was telling that story. I didn't think about that. And that leads us to this question, and it's really kind of an open-ended question. We've talked about it before on the show, but this is kind of a different example. I've talked about if a portal opened up, if you were walking somewhere and you saw like a big swirling mass, and maybe you can't even see what's on the other side. Maybe it's completely opaque, or it's just this swirl. But it's definitely paranormal. Would you step through it? When I was younger, I would have stepped through it. At my age, probably not. But the world of the paranormal may give us these opportunities, or it could just be random chance. We choose to take it or not. Same thing with these shoes. Like, you could see these floating shoes, you could be totally terrified. But if you put them on, what if good things happened? What if you gained special powers? You could hover 3 feet off the ground in a bathroom. You're all, I don't have to worry about dirty floors. Taco Bell, here I come. I've always wanted to eat your delicious food, but I know the bathrooms are disgusting. You're just floating. You're walking around Taco Bell. You're like, 1 chimichanga, please. And then you eat it. You're like, oh, that's disgusting. Oh, they don't even make chimichangas there. That's just something the cook made on his own. You're all, oh. And then you go to the bathroom and you immediately start hovering over the floor. You're all, I'm going to spend more time in bathrooms. You're like, Jason, if you're 3 feet off the floor, you might have a bit harder time going to the bathroom. You're all hovering over the toilet. You're like, on the one hand, I hope that my aim is right. But on the other hand, it's a Taco Bell bathroom. You can't tell anyways. You're all, whatever. You get tired of hovering over the toilet. You're like, I'm just going to go bombs away. Let the chips fall where they may. Who knows, though, right? You go, well, Jason, you've been getting mysterious quarters in your bed. You probably could have milked this. You probably could have gotten a bunch of money. Well, yeah, it's possible, right? It's quarters, right? I'm like, well, I need to fill up my gas tank. Oh, Jinn, can you give me $56 in quarters, please? I think it's gone. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have made that joke. All of a sudden, a bunch of quarters fall on my head. That's different. The Jinn is out they mostly negatively affect humans, so I wouldn't want to make a deal with a Jinn, or even a demon. If a demon showed up and said, this will be a good segue to the next story, I'll give you fame and riches and all this stuff, I'm not taking that deal. That's ridiculous. So the demon's like, well, okay, I know he's not going to take that deal. Demon transforms into a pair of shoes. I'm all, yippee! I'm going to ride these all the way to Hollywood. Floating around, the demon's all, If I look, there's little yellow eyes and a smile on the shoes. And the demon's like, wait a second. When's the last time you washed these jeans, bro? The jeans are all brushing up against the shoes. He's all, no, I'm trapped in a hell of my own making. Would you put the shoes on? Would you have tried to grab the shoes, reached out for them? And then if you could hold them, would you put them on? Because who knows what's going to happen? Could be cursed, could be blessed. It's an interesting question. I didn't even think about that. I think I was more looking at the phenomenon. And because it's a pair of shoes, right? It's something that you could utilize. If it was a ham sandwich floating in the middle of the air, I probably wouldn't eat it, right? Even probably being the key word. I'm like, I sure am hungry. Probably shouldn't eat bathroom food to begin with. But this one's floating off the ground. If it was a floating set of keys, I'd probably take them and see where the adventure led. The safety deposit box or something like that. Floating map, or just a map on the ground. Doesn't even have to float at that point. It's a treasure map. I was like, I don't want to bend over that far. Maybe if you float it a little bit up, just a little bit higher. Clothes would be a little tricky because it's so personal. You're putting it on your body. Same thing with the food, floating food. But a floating item, I'll probably reach out for it. Maybe. An interesting question. I'm curious as to what you guys would do. Finn Moeller, I'm going to go ahead and toss you the keys to the world famous Carpenter Copter. We are leaving behind this bathroom. Why don't you fly us all the way out to Hollywood? And I hope I have time to tell these last two stories. They do kind of bleed together. I think I planned it out pretty well, but I don't want to speed past either one. First off, I went and saw that new movie, Him, last weekend. And I'd been talking about it on the show. From the moment I watched the trailer, I go, this is something we've talked about on Dead Rabbit Radio before. We always talk about celebrities selling their souls to the devil, and I've specifically said multiple times on the show, well, if you believe that Katy Perry sold her soul, well, then how come we don't ever hear about star athletes selling their souls to the devil? The Shaquille O'Neals, the LeBron James, the Brett Favres, who's a new guy? Travis Kelce. You never hear about that. You'd think it would make a lot of sense for an athlete to sell their soul to the devil. They're already pounding their bodies to mush to perfect the game. Anything that could give them an edge, even if they lost their soul, if some filmmaker's going to do it, then why wouldn't an athlete? And I've kind of used that as a defense. I go, everyone would be selling their soul at a certain level. Well, the movie Him, H-I-M, it's an acronym, His Infernal Majesty. I saw the trailer and I go, wow, this is a movie about an athlete selling his soul to the devil. I could just tell by watching the trailer. Some sort of Illuminati group, some sort of deal with the devil. I go, I'm in. I want to see this because this may be going on. If it's going on in the sector of Hollywood, it's definitely going on in sports. So I'm getting ready to watch it. I was really hyped. I start seeing the reviews roll in. Terrible reviews. Film Threat, who I've been following since they were a magazine, indie film magazine, they gave it 0 out of 10, declared it one of the worst, if not the worst movie of the year. A lot of film reviewers, Dan Murrell, is a guy I've been watching for years, and I really respect his view on films. Like, a lot of times, if he likes a movie, I end up liking it, or can at least tolerate it. He didn't like it. And I was like, wow, why are all of these people that I've been following for years not like this movie? And then reviewers just in newspapers, sucks, dumb, boo, it's horrible. And I was like, that made me want to see it even more. Because I go, if this is a total train wreck, then I love train wrecks. Metaphorical, not real ones. So I went to go see Him, and it was fantastic. I have no clue what these reviewers were watching. It is not close to the worst movie of the year. I really, really enjoyed it. And what's interesting, I went back and I started reading more reviews after I watched it. I was like, what are these guys talking about? And here's the problem. They weren't talking about what the movie was about. The movie is about the Illuminati and its stranglehold on souls. And because I've read so much about the Illuminati, because I've studied the 13 families, because I've studied conspiracy theory, I know the visual languages, the metaphors, all that stuff. When I'm watching it and they walk into a room and the floor is black and white tile, I know clearly that that is a Illuminati image. When you have a test where you set up a dummy and you tell someone to shoot the dummy, but it's not a dummy, that's an Illuminati test. When you have... This was one of the most striking parts of the movie. I absolutely loved Him. And I really would give it a Dead Rabbit Radio recommends. I have no idea why I do have an idea why the critics got it so wrong. But there's a scene in the movie that is so clearly 100% out of the Illuminati playbook. And when I use Illuminati as a catch-all term, we've talked about this 100 times on the show. There's the 13 families, but then there's dozens, if not hundreds, of other small groups that are constantly vying for control of the world. I use Illuminati as a catch-all term. Of a secret society that may or may not have demonic connections. Sometimes they don't. I think most of the times they don't, honestly. But sometimes they do strive for not economic control, but spiritual control of the planet. There's a big party where all of the rich and famous people are going to be. A party that is so elite, there is only one place you can hold it in. So they get into this limo and they drive to deep downtown LA. And there is what looks like a DMV type building, a small squat government building. The sign's busted up. Weeds are growing out of the parking lot. You get out of the car, you walk inside, the lighting is all bad. There's a dumpy, no offense to the actress, but there's a dumpy looking woman sitting behind a counter, like you would see at a DMV or a courthouse or something like that. And in walks these incredibly wealthy, powerful people, and they go, "Hey, Deborah." And Deborah goes, "Hey, guys." They then walk into this other room, and it's a state-of-the-art discotheque with all these rich and powerful people sitting there and strippers as far as the eye can see. That is how these groups operate. That's 100% how these groups operate. It's hidden in plain sight. You would drive past this building 100 times and never even know what was in there. And if you did happen to go in the door, you would see Deborah, and she'd be really nice and be like, "Oh, well, honey, I think you've taken the wrong turn. No, this isn't the DMV. It's a bit further down the road. Yeah, just head on down." You walk out, get in your car. You probably wouldn't even, you pull up, you'd see how terrible the building looked and be like, "Well, this can't be the right location," and you would leave. If you were trying to go to the DMV or get something like that, it's a completely unassuming building, day and night. 100% out of that playbook. I was kind of surprised. I don't think that the movie reviewers nowadays are at, and even some I've been following for decades, like Film Threat and Dan Murrell, they don't have the media literacy for Illuminati conspiracy theory. 20 years ago, if this movie had come out, I think the reviewers would, whether or not they still liked it would be a different thing. But a lot of the people go, we didn't like this movie didn't make sense, nothing made sense, the ending didn't make sense. The ending makes perfect sense if you understand conspiracy theory. There's no doubt in my mind how it ended. One person said, Cam, the main character, didn't have any moral center. He did whatever Marlon Wayans asked him to, who was like the older football player who was getting ready to be retired with or without his permission. He was being sent this young guy to train. And he goes, the young guy did whatever he wanted. He did whatever he wanted, all just for fame and fortune. It didn't make any sense. Yeah, that's part of the playbook. When you're at that level, you have your dream just inches away from you. That's when the devil gives you the pen and says, sign here. Doesn't give it to you when you're practicing on the field and you're a high school sophomore. Gives it to you when you've already broken your body for 15, 20 years to get to that level, to be the best. That's when they hand you the pin. Because you've already made so many sacrifices before that. You've already left girlfriends. You've already stopped hanging out with other people. You've isolated yourself to be the best. So when that pin's handed to you, you go, what's one more sacrifice? And I watched this movie, and this movie is so close to the truth that I think it was tanked on purpose. Not by the filmmakers. Not by the actors, not by the studio. This movie is so close to the truth that had it been a big hit, like a big hit, the way horror movies can be nowadays, you might actually have people driving through parts of town and they're going, isn't that weird? There's always that seemingly abandoned building. What if that's one of those places from that movie, Him? Wouldn't that be crazy? What if we broke into that building and no one ever seems to be there? Let's go and scope it out. Let's go check it out. Now, 99% of those buildings, there's nothing in. It is just a disused building falling apart. Not literally collapsing ceiling, but it's not being maintained. Weeds in the parking lot. Light fixtures are all busted. Signs broken. 99.999% of the time, it's just that. But what happens when a group of kids break into the right one at the wrong time when one of these parties is being held? I really do think it's so close to the truth that it's being tanked on purpose. Very, very odd movie. I really, really enjoyed it. It's very surrealistic in parts, and it's pretty brutal, but it's also pretty straightforward. So Dead Rabbit Radio recommends Him. And I think it may be stymied on purpose because it's too close to the truth. See, I don't believe the Illuminati, or whatever you want to call them, has control over every single thing. I don't think that they do. They'd love to, but they don't. And so what happens is you have a group make this movie and get it released, and they go, well, we can't have people actually knowing any of this stuff. So instead of trying to stop the movie, they just have to put out the narrative that it sucks. And then critics go, yeah, the movie did suck. And then the reviews come out and then no one goes to see it. Super interesting movie. I would like for it to have a cult following. I don't think it will, because it looks very, very satanic. And so people who are into conspiracy theory, because I've seen conspiracy theory websites talk about the trailer and how satanic the trailer was. But the movie, I don't want to give away the ending, but the movie sets up all of this Satanism. And the question is, will he accept the deal? And I think a lot of people who are really into conspiracy theory won't give the movie a shot, won't watch to see what his decision is. Because I'll be honest, when I was watching the movie, I didn't know what his decision was going to be. And if you accept that famous people and politicians and possibly athletes sell their souls to the devil, you believe that's either widespread or it just happens every once in a while. Watching him go through this journey, you go, other people have signed that paper and have gone on similar journeys. So I didn't know how the movie was going to end. Which, for someone who watches, I try to watch 2 or 3 movies a day when I can. I'm usually doing something else, unfortunately, because I'm busy. But to watch a movie, and I was like, I don't know how this is going to end. It's fantastic. And to be a movie based on things that I'm really super curious about, really passionate about, Illuminati and conspiracy theory and all that stuff, to still not know how it was going to end. I go because it could end either way. He could reject the contract or he could sign the contract, and I don't know what he's going to do. So, really good movie. Dead Rabbit Radio recommends him. But that segues into what I wanted to talk about this story as well. And I know we're going along, and I, again, don't want to speed through this, but we all know about Kanye West. Whether or not you want to, you're aware of Kanye West. We talked about him a lot on this show. I'm a huge fan. So here's the thing. I think we're going to... I wanted to give Finn another episode anyways, because the last episode was kind of wonky, and he got this episode. So we're going to do one more for Finn. You're going to be back for tomorrow. I don't have enough time to tell the story I want to tell in full, because it's going to have me lay out a bunch of different parts. That, plus, my neighbor started mowing or something like that just as I started to talk. The CIA is trying to shut this podcast down. So we're going to go fully in deep. I mean, it's not a long story, but it's longer than I can tell in the time I have remaining here. It's probably like 20, 25 minutes. So we are going to have to cut this episode a little bit shorter than I wanted to, because I want to give the story room to breathe. There's a lot of stuff I got to say. This happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. So there's not a lot of stuff I can edit out. But it all comes down to that idea of what's known as a handler. So let's set it up like this. The general consensus is when you get into politics, and Finn will have you back for tomorrow, when you get into politics or when you become a celebrity, or in the movie Him, this also happens, you are given what's known as a handler. It is someone who's already established in the business that helps you navigate your way around. I'm saying this as I hear the lawnmower getting closer. It sounds like a great idea. Right? What happens when you go to camp? Sometimes I've never been to camp, but sometimes you'll have a camp buddy. Isn't that a thing? A mentor, someone who can show you the ropes. Sometimes you need something like that, right? You started at a new company and they're like, hey, we're going to have you hang out with Jimmy for a while. Jimmy's going to show you the ropes. That's good. Now imagine that you're going to such a high profile thing. You went from your humdrum ordinary life, and now all of a sudden you're going to be a celebrity. You don't know how to do interviews. You don't know how to book flights to get to interviews. You don't know what you should and shouldn't tweet. You don't know whose hand you should shake at what parties and how to make connections and all of that stuff. You just know how to act or sing or throw a football. So the fact that someone can come and show you the ropes because they've been doing this for decades is super helpful. But in the case of the handler, there's a more devious reason. This person is there not to help you out. They're going to seem like they're helping you out, but they're really there to control you. They're really there to help you make, as far as they're concerned, the right decisions. And we're going to look at the story of a handler. Some of you guys may be familiar with this. It has shocked me for years. I came across all this when Kanye West first went insane back in 2022, or I should say openly insane back in 2022. We found out who Kanye West's handler was. And again, there's an interesting question. Was this guy really just someone who had Kanye's best interest in mind? Or was he a mind control expert who led Kanye West to an inevitable path of self-implosion? And if the second one is true, what about all the other clients that this guy has? All these other celebrity clients he's worked with? And if it's true, it's not just him. There'd be dozens, if not hundreds, of other people doing this. So tomorrow, you can do some research yourself, too. I'll give you the name. There's a man named Harley Pasternak, who is the physical trainer to the stars. People hire him to get into shape. See, that's something that you never thought of before. It's okay to be a kind of chubby 180-year-old hip-hop producer. You eat McDonald's all the time and you never work out. But now that you're a celebrity, no, you got to get in shape. What? I'm just a producer. I just make beats. No. You got to be in shape. We're going to put you in front of a camera. We got to get you lean. Here's this personal trainer. He's going to help you out. Okay, cool. Tells you what to eat. Tells you how to work out, when to work out. You're out jogging with him, out having fun. You don't ever think that this guy's actually a handler. This guy's working for another organization, and he's there to keep me in check. Not physically, but mentally and spiritually. And Harley Pasternak was Kanye West's personal trainer. And the warning signs started off before the inevitable fall of Kanye West, when an odd news article popped up years before any of this happened, and years before he started freaking out, where there was an article saying that one day Harley and Kanye went for a run. And they ran into the middle of a field, just jogging. And that's when Harley realized that they had jogged straight into an active minefield. At that point, Harley stopped and helped navigate Kanye West out of the minefield. At any point, Kanye could have blown himself to bits. But luckily, Harley was there going, no, a little bit to the left. Come on, nice and slow. Okay, come on, okay, stop. And move, okay, this way, yeah, good. Keep coming towards me. Think about the immense stress you would be in if you ran into a minefield. And you wouldn't even put two and two together that the guy who's guiding you out of the minefield is the same guy who got you here in the first place. At any moment you could blow up. You're not thinking about how you got there. You're just worried about how to get out. And this man, this helpful dude, just listen to the sound of his soothing voice. He's leading you out of the valley of death. After an event like that, you'd probably do anything for Harley. You'd probably do anything he asked, no matter how bizarre. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. I'm really excited about it. I've actually been waiting years to tell this story. Kind of put it off because I think it's kind of dangerous. I'll be honest, it's kind of a dangerous story to tell because who knows what other factors are going into play here. But Finn, we'll have you back for tomorrow's episode. deadrabbitradio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at facebook.com/deadrabbitradio. TikTok is @deadrabbitradio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm glad you listened to it today. Have a great one, guys.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Everything from clothing to household items are getting more expensive each day. American Giant is about keeping things simple and close to home. They aren't affected by tariffs because their products never leave the U.S. Support American-made, tariff-free clothing with American Giant. Get 20% off your first order when you use promo code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com. That's 20% off when you use code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com.